am reacting to your wrestling hot takes. And yes, this is an episode with a lot of hot takes about The Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Triple H, so just strap in. I do this video series once a week to give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts about the world of professional wrestling, so if you want to be part of next week's hot takes video, make sure that you're following me on X. The link will be in the description of this video. I ask for your hot takes on there every single Thursday. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm confident you're gonna fall in love with this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. Let's read some stupid shit. Hey, first hot take comes from a fellow YouTuber, Wade Plemons, who says Seth Rollins telling Roman that he'd run circles around him like he always has at the end of the presser was a highly slept on moment. Wade, I'm gonna double down on what you said. Not only do I think that was a slept on moment, I feel like the entire interaction between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns is not talked about enough because they were so good together. Their chemistry is just undeniable. It's honestly kind of criminal that it's been since early 2022. That was the last time that we got a feud between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and these guys are at the top of their game, so I really hope that in some way, shape, or form we can circle back, turn back the clock, and get Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins once again, because it would be criminal for us to not get this when they're both at the top of the mountain. The Rosebuds are one of the most successful groups of all time. Dude, this is actually kind of wild. I haven't seen this before. So we got Adam Rose, who did nothing in the WWE, but in there you got like Braun Strowman, Alexa Bliss. I think you got, Becky Lynch is in there, Nikki Cross, Carmella. I see Simon Gotch, who won NXT tag titles. Elias is in there, who had a WrestleMania moment with John Cena. My goodness, yeah. You're not wrong. The Rock has always been the head of the table. Roman has now become The Rock's part-time security. I will say that The Rock does now feel like the final boss of this bloodline story, and I think that's fine, but I do want them to re-up the aura of Roman Reigns, because in that press conference, especially towards the end, he did sort of feel like the tribal little bro, and The Rock had to step in to defend Roman Reigns, but we know that's not the case. Roman Reigns is the final boss. He is God mode. He is the tribal chief. I'm sure that his aura will be just fine, but it is interesting to point out that right now, as of the making of this video, to me, The Rock feels like the final boss of this video game. Cody Rhodes going from, I'm not gonna fight you, Roman Reigns, The Rock is, to this is all my decision, yeah, is still one of the dumbest character developments I think I've ever seen. Happy to see Cody versus Roman, but Cody's character feels like it took a hit. I think this was a situation where the WWE was willing to suspend the disbelief of Cody Rhodes' irrational, dumb decision just for the sake of getting us to where we needed to be as soon as possible, because it is very obvious to me that that Friday night SmackDown segment was a colossal failure. It just completely backfired, and it did not give them the desired results. I'm sure maybe it was in their plans to inevitably have a heel Rock. Cody Rhodes was still gonna go off and face Roman Reigns, but we definitely sped up the process with the hashtag We Want Cody movement. Don't let any media outlets tell you that this was always how it was planned, because you're right. When you look at how everything was laid out for Cody Rhodes, it's asinine. It doesn't make sense. There was no explanation as to how he went from A, being like, yeah, I'm not gonna face you at WrestleMania, The Rock is, to, no, it is my decision. I am gonna face you at WrestleMania. And bless your soul, I know some people are trying to make sense of all of this, being like, well, maybe The Rock was using his political powers backstage and tricked Cody Rhodes. I appreciate you trying to retcon this, but WWE screwed up, and because they screwed up, there's gonna be plot holes like this one, but I'm okay with this plot hole because we got to where we wanted to go. Trick Melo will be feud of the year. I think you're onto something. One thing that I want to throw out is this notion that they should do Trick versus Melo at WrestleMania. Look, I appreciate what you're trying to do here by saying that this is a big enough feud for WrestleMania, but you can't steal that match, that feud, from NXT's version of WrestleMania Stand and Deliver. This has to be a Stand and Deliver showcase. Absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts. But yeah, like, NXT already has the blueprint for how to make this feud fantastic. They kind of already done it with the storyline between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. And I think that this can actually be better, which is kind of insane because in my opinion, Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano was one of the greatest feuds in professional wrestling ever. Not just NXT, just feuds in general. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. I could see this being a year plus long feud, if I'm being honest with you. I'm allergic to these hot takes today, it seems. I really can't think of a plan for Seth Rollins anymore. And dude, that's okay, because Seth Rollins didn't have this defined end goal. Cody Rhodes did, which is why when they completely pivoted away from that end goal, that's why we turned on this whole situation and more or less forced WWE's hand to take us back where we originally thought we were going, which was the end of Cody's story. Seth Rollins doesn't have that finite end. He doesn't have this story. It's okay that we don't know where Seth Rollins is going to be a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, because that hasn't been the crux of Seth Rollins' narrative over the past year that he's been World Heavyweight Champion. I think you can give him a 1-month feud at WrestleMania. It's gonna be great, and we're gonna love it, because again, it doesn't have to be this big overarching thing like it needed to be with Cody Rhodes. I'm sure that we're gonna like what they do with Seth Rollins. For me personally, like if I have to pick, I hope it's a triple threat, maybe a fatal 4-way, just to give other people an opportunity to perhaps get one of those night one main events or a big marquee WrestleMania match without putting a lot of pressure on Seth Rollins' knee. Folks, if you want even more wrestling content, consider coming over to patreon.com/SantiZap. I just reviewed the most recent episode of SmackDown, but I also review Raw, NXT. I give you the monthly mailbag. You also get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else. Go check it out if you want even more wrestling content. Patreon.com/SantiZap. It's the top link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. Okay, done with the sellout? Back to the video. CM Punk should be added to commentary for the road to WrestleMania. He was great at the presser last night and would be so entertaining during this Rock/Roman versus Cody/Seth angle. I agree. I absolutely want them to use CM Punk in some way, shape, or form during the road to WrestleMania and maybe even at WrestleMania itself. I don't hate the idea of perhaps CM Punk being the host of WrestleMania. It is kind of interesting to think of him being in a role that The Miz was in the previous year, considering just how anti-Miz and how anti-glamour and superstardom CM Punk seems to be. But look, we need to use him in some way, shape, or form. He's still an attraction, even if he isn't wrestling in the ring. Look, Booker T is out right now recovering from surgery. I do hope he comes back soon, because I do love Booker T on NXT commentary. But also, maybe while he's recovering, why not use CM Punk in that Booker T role and have him be an announcer for NXT? Apparently, he loves being on there and helping mentor the next generation of wrestlers. So I'm just down for them to use CM Punk in any capacity, because he's just too damn good to not use. So Bianca gets to be on the press conference just to promote her TV show and name drop Sasha Banks, while Bayley and Io Sky, who are headlining WrestleMania, aren't there to promote their match, which should be the night one main event, by the way. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with their use of Bianca. I was actually really excited when Bianca Belair's music hit, because she's one of those megastars that I don't know what they're gonna do with yet, but I know she's gonna have a major spot at this year's WrestleMania. I figured maybe we were gonna have a confrontation with Jade Cargill. Maybe Tiffany Stratton tries to punch above her weight class and tries to call out Bianca Belair, something. But yeah, it did feel a little bit off to have Bianca Belair out there to promote something that wasn't in any way, shape, or form related to WrestleMania at a WrestleMania kickoff press conference. Honestly, in the back of my head, something tells me that there were changed plans, and maybe there was supposed to be a Jade Cargill face-off with Bianca Belair, and maybe that was changed last minute, because every other part of this press conference built to WrestleMania except Bianca's segment. That was weird. I know that we have another hot take later on about Bayley and her kind of being disrespected, so we'll come back to that in just a minute. I am personally no longer Team Attitude Era. This current era is the best, most stacked, and iconic era of professional wrestling. I'm just glad that we're all starting to realize that right now we are in the good old days. I didn't need this press conference to tell me that this is the best era of professional wrestling. Trust me, no Attitude Era mark is ever going to agree to this. It's just the reality, man. Just like the landscape of women's wrestling alone makes this wrestling generation way better than the Attitude Era. I'm just gonna, sorry to be the one to bring you up to speed to the year 2024, but now with all of this that's going on, The Rock being part, the Netflix deal, wrestling is about to be the most popular that it's ever been. And on top of that, like you said, like right now, it's just so good. The talent is ridiculously stacked, and the competition is healthy too. This is the best era of professional wrestling, even if, you know, you're still crying in your corner in your room about how great the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars. Come on, catch up to speed. Come on, smell the coffee, smell the roses. We're living in the best era of professional wrestling. WWE was absolutely trying to run Roman versus Rock for WrestleMania, but the fans caused them to pivot. Credit to them for still realizing that the fans wanted Cody. Yeah, honestly, do not let any of these media outlets, Fightful Select, Wrestling Observer Newsletter, no disrespect to them, but don't let any of them try and fool you into believing that this was the plan all along. There's no way, because there's just such a giant plot hole that we talked about earlier about Cody Rhodes self-cucking himself and then uncucking himself 6 days later. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any narrative sense how we got from here to there. But they'll try and make you believe that this was the plan all along. It might have been the end goal to get there in some capacity, but the movement of us being Cody crybabies worked. It forced their hand, if at the very least, not necessarily, maybe it wasn't to completely change their story, but to pivot and accelerate to where they were planning on going. If The Rock officially becomes part of the bloodline, it stands a very real chance to surpass the NWO as the greatest heel faction we've ever seen. I think you're onto something here, but I will say that the bloodline, especially at its peak in early 2023, late 2022, I think it was already in conversation to be in competition with the NWO for the greatest heel faction of all time. If they add The Rock, and if they do this well, if this isn't just a half-baked attempt to have The Rock be bloodline adjacent, like if The Rock actually fully joins the bloodline, then I think there's no denying that this is gonna go down as the greatest heel faction of all time. Do you see any scenario where Cody doesn't win at WrestleMania 40? Oh, yes. Sadly, yes. I think that it's look, I don't want this. I just want to clarify before you start throwing tomatoes at me. I think there's a possibility where the night one main event is Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and The Rock comes out there in typical bloodline fashion and helps Roman Reigns win, setting up a feud, not just, again, a trilogy match between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns in the future, but between the top babyface in the company, Cody Rhodes, and the top heel legend and I guess head of the company in Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I see that being a possibility. Look, I hated the ending of WrestleMania 27, but I could see a possibility. You asked, do I see any scenario? I think that's the scenario where Cody doesn't win at WrestleMania 40. Austin Theory versus Grayson Waller should be main eventing WrestleMania. Aw, that's adorable. No, but that's cute. This whole thing is to build The Rock versus Triple H. Yes, kind of. Not a match. Triple H can never get in the ring as far as I understand it. The man has a pacemaker and could at any moment drop dead. Like, that's why he's got that pacemaker, to make sure that his heart doesn't stop functioning and so that we don't lose Papa H. I don't want to risk Triple H's health for the sake of getting two 50-year-old guys trying to give us a good wrestling match. You can still do The Rock versus Triple H in a different kind of way, a power struggle, a narrative about who is leading the forces of the WWE, who is making the decisions. I think it could be a Survivor Series War Game story of Team Authority versus Team Bloodline. Look, there's so many ways to still do a story between The Rock versus Triple H that doesn't involve us risking the life of Papa H. I can see Cody losing in the main event of WrestleMania after a Rock interference, leading to a Cody versus Rock super fight at SummerSlam. Yeah, this is kind of what I alluded to. I think that it's very likely at some point in some capacity that we're going to get Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. I think it would be now criminal for us to not get Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. It seems like The Rock has fully plunged into this role in the WWE. I don't think that this is going to be a one-off WrestleMania 40 appearance for The Rock. I think we're going to be seeing The Rock here over the next several years, having some sort of either backstage or on-screen presence in the world of the WWE. And if The Rock knows that there's a big money match at play, I think he knows that not only is there one, there's two. It's not just Rock and Roman. I think it's Rock and Cody as well. And I think SummerSlam's a great venue for this. If this was always the plan, then it's great. If this was a pivot, this is great. I think that this is a really great way to look at it. I'm a content creator, so I'm always looking for, the things to talk about. And sometimes, sadly, they are the negative aspects. Like, oh, this was never the plan all along, y'all. Who cares? Really, at the end of the day, who cares what I say, whether it was the plan or not? Because we landed it. They stuck the landing. We got what we wanted. And yeah, if it was the plan, good, I'm happy. If it was a pivot, if this wasn't the plan and they changed it, look, I'm happy. So there's no reason to be a negative Nancy. The Rock slapping Cody felt so real. Once Roman brought up Cody's dad and Cody fired back with their ancestors, it just felt so real. Hell, maybe it was. It did feel real. That's why this was so good. I promise you this was all planned. These guys are all incredible professionals. People seem to forget that The Rock is an actor by trade. Of course, The Rock made that seem real. I think we all like to try and dunk on The Rock because a lot of his movies are very similar and he plays a very similar character, but he's been acting for the better part of 20 years now. I think he can do a pretty good job at making us believe that all of this feels real, because it did. And again, this is why it was so good. But let's not start running with some narrative that this broke down into a real fight, because obviously it didn't. The sports-like production is amazing. Only a few weeks with Kevin Dunn gone, and it looks and feels more dynamic. In a few months, the presentation is going to be the best that it has ever been. I love that you're noticing this. It does feel very much like an NFL-like presentation, showing the players, aka the wrestlers, arriving in the parking lot, showing graphics about X or YZ player or wrestler in this case before they go to commercial break. I will say that there have been some hiccups since Kevin Dunn has left, specifically with like audio work and camera placements. Sometimes they do some weird, wacky mistakes, and I do think that these are just part of the growing pains of the new production team. So I'm with you. I do believe in a couple of months, this product is going to look amazing. Jade Cargill needs to be used sooner rather than later. Her momentum is strong from that amazing Rumble performance and deserves a Chamber or WrestleMania match before it dies down. She doesn't deserve a Chamber or WrestleMania match. She deserves a Chamber and WrestleMania match. I'm with you. They need to pull the trigger on this woman right now. Right now, the aura and the allure is there. Plus, it's like a combination of, we know she's a badass, but then there's also a little bit of the unknown, the mystique. Like, how would she actually fare in a one-on-one environment in a main event like type match at WrestleMania? So we right now are never going to want Jade Cargill as much as we want her right now, because all of the stars have aligned. Like I said, we saw a preview, we were impressed, but we haven't seen enough, so we want to see more. We are clamoring for Jade Cargill, and I really hope that they do the absolute best possible booking to make sure that she walks out of WrestleMania an ultra mega uber superstar. Does Bayley deserve the night one main event if we're going based off of storytelling? Well, Rudy, this is you supposed to be submitting the hot takes, not asking me questions, but I like the question, so I'm going to answer it. Does she deserve the night one main event? Absolutely. She's the Royal Rumble winner. She is a record-setting Royal Rumble winner. She is the only one right now, aside from Cody Rhodes, that is going to have a 2-month build to a storyline. And it hasn't just been this like, okay, we'll do this 1 week and then come back to it like 2 or 3 weeks from now. We've got back-to-back fantastic Bayley, Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Kabuki Warrior segments on SmackDown. They are doing a very good job of making you really care about this. Does she get it? If I'm a betting man, like if I was forced to sell everything that I own and gamble, I don't think she's gonna get it. How can we think that she's going to get it when she's not even being used in the WrestleMania press conference, as we talked about earlier, and she's not even in like the promotional stuff for WrestleMania? Does she deserve it? Absolutely. Is she going to get it? I hope I'm wrong, but probably no. All right, folks, those are this week's hot takes. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Leave your hot takes down there and let's discuss amongst ourselves. Be civil, but that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.